Hello, beloved. My name is Mother Miriam. I grew up in a conservative Jewish home, and my name all my life was Rosalind Moss. And maybe I've met many of you under the name of Rosalind Moss or Sister Rosalind Moss. I've been Mother Miriam now for several years, and I never knew a creature could be so happy on the face of the earth. I'm going to tell you a little story I heard. It's about a baby eagle. The mother had a whole little family of babies, the mother eagle, and she was taking them on a walk, and the little one all the way in the back just got distracted, and the little eagle got lost. And he was found by some baby chickens, and they picked him up, and they brought him home, and they taught him how to cluck and how to eat chicken feed and how to be a chicken. So he grew up thinking he was a chicken. And when he was a teenager, a little eaglet, overhead he saw this incredible, magnificent bird. And he looked up in the sky and he said, "Oh, what's that? I want to be him. I want to be that." And the chicken said to him, "Are you kidding? You're a chicken. That's an eagle. You could never be him. Come on, cluck with us." So he grew up clucking and picking up chicken feed and being a chicken. When he was made to soar the heavens like an eagle, his destination became chicken soup. Do you understand that? Chickens become chicken soup. That's very Jewish. And it's a sad story because he was made to soar. We are made to soar. We are created by love. We are created for love. We are created by the Creator of the universe. In His image and likeness, we are made to love. We are made by love. We are made for love. We're made for purpose. We're made to know who we are and why we exist and what our future is, and to be filled with hope. And what on earth happened? Oy, 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 what happened? We walk around without purpose. Our hearts are empty. We're lonely. And I tell you, I understand all that because for the first, I would say, 32 years of my life, I don't think I had a reason to be on earth. I had great desires for love. I pictured myself married and with a family and all of that. But even when I was 10 years old, I didn't know why we were on the earth. Now, coming from a Jewish home, we know that we're the people of God. We loved it. We knew who we were. And it's not that the Jewish people don't believe in eternity or eternal life, but we don't speak about it. We don't speak about it in terms of heaven. Sometimes heaven is used interchangeably for God because we don't pronounce the word God. It's too holy. And so, we just didn't know. We just had the here and now, life on earth. And we needed to love God. We needed to respect Him. We needed to obey His laws. We needed to be good people. We needed to love and take care of people. But inside, even at 10, I used to think, what is it for? What is it for? So you grow up and you get married, you fall in love and you have children. I pictured a nice little house with curtains and white picket fence. But then what? And then your children have children, and then you get old, and then you die. And then what? What is it for? And not only that, but I wondered, what is this? What is the tug in my heart? What is this incredible sense of emptiness, purposelessness, meaninglessness I lived with my whole life? I had a very active social life. I had 3 marriage proposals. I was in love. I was in business. I ran 2 companies in New York. I had every single thing the world could give, everything. And yet, inside, which nobody knew, not even my best friend, I didn't have a reason to live. I didn't know why mankind was on the earth. What do you do about that? How do you think you could ever solve that or find it or whatever it is? So I'll take you back a little bit. I'll take you back to my Jewish home in Brooklyn. We grew up, as I said, in a conservative home. I have an older brother, David, and a younger sister, Susan, and we grew up practicing all the traditions of Judaism. in a conservative home, not Orthodox, although today we might have looked Orthodox, but we weren't. We were conservative. We went to shul, we went to synagogue on all the high holy days. We said the prayers, the Sabbath prayers. We knew that there was two people in the world, Jews and non-Jews. We stayed quite separate. We were never taught anything negative in the world. We just knew that there was a God, and he was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we were his people. And as a little girl, I didn't know the word grace, but it's what I felt. Why should we be the people of God? We're no better than anyone else. In fact, in a lot of respects, we turned from God. We could be worse than many, many people. Why should we be the people of God? Why did he shower us with such grace, which I didn't know? As I say that word, but I knew that the only reason that I belonged to my family and the people of God is because I came out of my mother's womb, descendant from Abraham. How could else? I had nothing to do with my birth, but we knew that we were God's people. And if you asked us what religion we were, I don't know what we would have said to you. We would have said, no, we don't have it. We're Jewish. We're the people of God. We knew it. We didn't just practice religion. We knew who we were, and we knew that everything we did and did not do reflected on the God we claimed to love, the God we claimed to know, the God whose people we claimed to be. We knew that, and we knew that what any one of us did reflected on the whole people of God, because he called us as a collective people. He made a people from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to be the people of God. And no one could be an isolated individualist doing their own thing. What one did reflected on the entire people of God, for good or for ill. So we loved who we were as children, and we weren't terrifically or exactly kosher, but we never mixed meat and milk. We celebrated all the holy days. And at Passover every year, that was huge. We celebrated the New Year, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, all of that, when we would atone for our sins before God. But on Passover, every year, we had a wonderful Seder, that means service, with our extended Jewish family, and lots of people at my aunt's house. And we would all sit down, a huge number of us, children at a separate table, and just a number of tables to fit us all in. And all the food was prepared. It was prepared the day before, plenty to eat. But we wouldn't eat for maybe an hour and a half, because first we would recount the story of God's deliverance of our people through 400 years of slavery in Egypt. We recounted a story that happened 3,500 years before, 3,500 years before, when the Jews were slaves in Egypt, and Pharaoh wouldn't let them go, wouldn't let them worship the God of Abraham, was afraid of their growing so numerous, so he made them make mortar and make bricks, and they were slaves. They were treated terribly. Moses went to Pharaoh to let the people go, that they could worship. And Pharaoh said, these are lazy, good-for-nothing people. They want to leave. And he treated them worse. And so we recounted that whole story, how God sent the 10 plagues on Egypt to get Pharaoh to let the Jewish people go. And after each one, the lice, the Nile turned to blood, the darkness, frogs, so many things. And Moses said, let my people go. And Pharaoh said, nothing doing. And finally, God said to Moses, I want you to take a lamb, each of your Jewish homes. I want you to take a lamb. It has to be a perfect lamb, not the one you don't want. It has to be the best one of your flock. Probably the family loved it. Probably it had a name. It has to be a year old and a male, and without blemish, without spot, because they were going to kill that lamb. And the blood of that lamb, God told them, had to be put on the side post and the lintel, which was the crossbar. And God told Moses that he was going to send the angel of death over Egypt that night. That's the 10th plague, is known as the death of the firstborn, because God would send the angel of death over Egypt as the final plague on Pharaoh, to let Pharaoh know that if he doesn't let the Jewish people go to worship their God, that when the angel of death passed over all the homes in Egypt, the firstborn, which would be the eldest son of each house, would die when the angel of death flew over those houses. But the Jewish people were to take that lamb without blemish, without spot, to represent a holy offering for holy God, and they were to kill the lamb, put the blood on the doorposts. So when the angel of death flew over those houses that night, he would see the blood, and he would pass over those homes. That's Exodus chapter 12. He would pass over them. That's how we get the name the Passover. He would pass over them, and the firstborn would be spared because the blood of the lamb died in his stead. The blood of the lamb died in the place of the firstborn, was a substitute for the firstborn. And that night, there were great screams all over Egypt, because from Pharaoh's own son to all the houses, all the firstborn had died. And so Pharaoh got, including Pharaoh's son, he got so angry, so horrified, so exasperated, he ordered the Jewish people out. He ordered them, get out of here, take your whatever you want, your animals, your children, get out of here. And they left, and they went through the Red Sea. And God, the Pharaoh and his army kind of sobered up, and they said, what did we do? We let those Jews go. What were we thinking? So they got on their chariots and the horses, they ran after the Jews, and Moses and all the people got to the foot of the Red Sea, and the army was on them, and God split the Red Sea. And they went through on dry land, and the Pharaoh's army came in with all their chariots and horses into the midst of that sea, and the Jews got out on the other side to dry land, and the waters closed in over the Egyptian army, and they all drowned. That's the story. And God said in Exodus chapter 12, as you celebrate the Passover, the night that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sent his angel to pass over the Jewish people, that they would be spared and deliver them from over 400 years of slavery in Egypt. God said, when you are to celebrate this night throughout all your generations, never miss celebrating this miraculous delivery as God delivered you with his outstretched arm. And when your children and your children's children say to you, what are we doing this for? Why is this night different from any others? You will tell them how the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob delivered you with his outstretched arm. I was 11, my brother David 13. It was his bar mitzvah. He became a son of the Lord that year. My little sister Susan was there. We were all celebrating. And my brother asked the 4 questions, which begins, why is this night different from all others? And then we would begin to recount that deliverance of our people. And it was an amazing, miraculous thing, because there we would be sitting in the 1950s in America, recounting the story, not of the history of our people, a foreign people, a people that lived back then, our story. We were slaves in Egypt. God delivered us with his outstretched hand, his outstretched arm. We are the people of God. This happened to us. And every year we celebrated that. As children, we didn't say, Ma, when are we going to eat already? We never even thought about it. It was our history. He was our God. And he's faithful. And one day, and in a sense, when we celebrated that Passover, for us, I could speak for myself, it was as if the past was brought through time and made present, because we went through the celebration of it. We went through all the elements of the Passover, the salt water for the tears they shed, and the charoseth, the little mixture of nuts and raisins and all that, that represented the mortar of the bricks, and so much. And we loved it because he was our God, and we were his people, and we knew it. And then we started eating, and it was the custom every year for one of us to go to the door, which was always kept ajar because we knew that now we're scattered all over the world. But one day, God would send the Messiah, his Messiah. Messiah means anointed one. He would send the Messiah, and the Messiah would free God's people. He would set up at last his kingdom on earth. He would gather the Jews from the four corners of the earth and put us back in Jerusalem where we belong. And there would be peace on the earth. And life would make sense when Messiah came. And we knew that as children. And every year, we were to keep our door open and have a plate for the prophet Elijah, who would precede the Messiah. We would keep our door open for the Messiah and Elijah to come. And every year it was somebody's turn, a child's turn there, to go to the door to see if anyone was in the hallway. Elijah or the Messiah, we didn't know how far they'd come apart. And when I was 11, it was my turn to go to the door to see if one or both of them had come. And I went to the 12th floor of my apartment building in Brooklyn, where we were, to see if the Messiah had showed up in our apartment building on the 12th floor of our building. And the hallway was empty. And my little heart, my legs shivered going to that. I was scared. 11 years old, my legs were shaking. What would I do if he's out there? What would I do with him? I don't know what I would do with him. But I looked out in the hallway, and it was black and dark and empty. Nobody there. And I turned around to the waiting table, and I said, he hasn't come. Mashiach, Messiah, hasn't come. And so I went back to the table. We finished with the entire service, the Seder, and we would always end the Seder saying, he didn't come this year, so he'll come next year. And we would sing, next year in Jerusalem. Next year, he's going to come. He's going to come. So he didn't come this year, he didn't come the year before, next year. And when he comes, we will be in Jerusalem when Messiah comes. We will be there. And there'll be peace, and he'll set up his kingdom. So I went to bed as that 11-year-old, and I said to myself, is there really a Messiah? Is he really going to come? But we believed it. It's the only hope the world had. Now, we're going to fast forward a few years to my brother David's search for God and for the Messiah we always thought existed, but didn't know would ever come. And I will tell you that when we come back together again. For now, have a good night's sleep. God bless you. We'll see you next time.